Alright, so today we're talking about the Ouija board, so stay tuned. Hello my little wonder bugs, welcome back to my channel, and for those of you that are new, my name is Maria Soul. I'm a witch and a tarot card reader, and today we're going to be talking about the Ouija board, and we're mostly going to be talking about do's and don'ts, my experience with the Ouija board, my opinion on the Ouija board, and how I think some things are ridiculous about it and some things I think are very serious that you should be aware of. But before we start, remember that if you go to this link that's right about here, you can go to all my links where I have my social media, my Etsy store for private reading, and or a Patreon subscription that you can support this channel with. Last but not least, if you see a little exclamation mark right here, it'll send you to similar videos related to magic and mystery and witchcraft and all that good stuff. So to begin with, my opinion is that the Ouija board has a lot of hype. A lot of hype that isn't necessarily honest about how it works and how it really, what it can really do for you. Because a lot of people have had very negative experiences, and that's what everybody concentrates on. So there's this sort of urban legend that if you use the Ouija board, you're gonna communicate with negative spirits, which that is not the case. The Ouija board is just a tool to communicate with spirits. That is it. It is not the ancient device of, you know, evil proportions and, you know, it was made by the devil or anything stupid and crazy like that. It is just invented by a guy who happened to be a medium and wanted to connect with spirits in a much more easier and convenient way than the way that most people were doing it at the time, which I think was automatic writing, which can be easy as well, but he just wanted something a little bit more practical for him. And that's where it kind of took off. He created it, designed it, and then eventually toy companies bought it out. I don't remember what toy company, but one of the toy companies bought his Ouija board and started producing it to people. People that weren't mediums could buy the Ouija board and use the Ouija board to communicate with spirits at home, conveniently. But just like anybody who doesn't know how to use a spirit board or a device to communicate with spirits, they can be very naive. And that's where the problem starts. Because they want something spooky and scary, ooh, for Halloween or for some sort of party that they want to make it look cute or something, just something in that nature. The thing is that if that's what you want, guess what? That's what Spirit's going to give you. So be careful what you ask for. And I think that's where a lot of the urban legend and a lot of the just overly hyped beliefs about the Ouija board comes from. Now, me personally, I have no fear of the Ouija board. The Ouija board doesn't scare me. I've used the Ouija board several times in my life. I have had experiences with it, but I've never had a scary experience, mainly because I followed these rules that I'm going to tell you right now. And I didn't follow them because somebody told me to follow these rules. I followed these rules because I innately knew to do this. So I'm just going to give them to you because I think it's very important if you really want to seriously use the Ouija board for bettering your life and communicating with like ancestors and spirit guides and all that stuff. This is a very important thing that I want to share. So before you use the Ouija board, before you even sit down and grab it, the first thing you need to do is know that you are well rested and that you're grounded. Now, grounded literally means that you are touching the ground. I mean, that's the simplest way to ground. You can also have something to drink or something to munch on. That helps to ground as well. It just basically means to sort of be in the moment and not be all over the place mentally and emotionally and spiritually, which can cause you to get wrong information, maybe cause some blockages on getting messages. So when you're grounded, you're more centered, you're more connected to yourself and to the earth, so you don't go all over the place. Now, with doing any kind of spiritual work, or magic or anything like that, you should always call upon your spirit guides or any kind of protection that you trust in. This is just precautionary. It's basically good habit to do this with any kind of spiritual act, not even Ouija board or connecting with spirits. It could be just doing like a spell or just a regular ritual. The reason you want to do this is because you don't want any other spirit, whether negative or positive, to interfere with whom you really want to communicate with, okay? It helps out with that. It also helps out with just annoying spirits that don't want to really help you out. They're just bored and have nothing else better to do. So to avoid that, you call upon whatever you believe in. You can do a prayer, you can light a candle, whatever floats your boat, which helps you out with protecting yourself or protecting the message that you want to hear. Another thing that's very important, make sure that you know what you want to ask and who you want to talk to for that matter. Just don't say whomever's here, because you'll get just about anybody. So if, for instance, myself, if I want to communicate with my father, I say that I want to communicate with my father. I think to myself, that is who I want to communicate with. I don't want to communicate with anybody else but my father. And guess who comes in? My dad. Also, make sure you know what you want to say. You don't want to invite somebody in and just be like, hey, got anything to tell me? Pizza. What about pizza? It's good. So make sure that you know what you want to talk about. Have a list of questions that you want to ask the spirits, whoever the spirit may be. And try to make it relevant, like have a purpose for the questions. Don't just say, what's your favorite color, just because you want to play with them. Be honest with yourself about what you want to find out. And most importantly, don't tolerate spirits that are being belligerent or mean or hostile in any way, shape, or form. Put your foot down, people. Please put your foot down. You have the power to basically say, no, stop. I'm not liking where this is going. And if you have that sort of sense of, I'm in control of this situation, then guess what? They're going to pay attention. They're going to do what you tell them to do. So don't have that fear that if you're having a session with the Ouija board, that all of a sudden you can get possessed or that something like that could happen. Because if you believe it can, then guess what? You're gonna get hurt. Things are gonna happen. So the best thing for you to do is to have that sense of resolve as a person and as a spirit within yourself, that you are in control of your session while you're doing a Ouija board, a Ouija board connection here, whatever you want to call it. You know that you are in control. You are the master of this communication. You can say goodbye or stay there. You know, it's all up to you. So don't do the whole, oh, I couldn't resist it. It was just so strong, the spirit. No, honey, you are stronger. There is no them controlling you or anything in that nature. You are in control of the situation. Remember that. Now, when it comes to the Ouija board, it's a good practice to work with more than one person. So you and another person could do the Ouija board. That would be great. You could also have a third person that can basically write down everything that's said. So then it's easier for you to understand what the heck's going on and what they're spelling out, especially if you're not good at spelling. Then you can actually understand what's going on. Also, in my experience, sometimes the energy is so strong, the spirit wants to talk so much that you actually feel this sense of energy going down your spine. And when you're doing it by yourself, it can be a little bit tiring, like you literally get tired. So my suggestion is with two people, it evens out. So you don't feel the intensity as much, and it's just easier to move the planchette that way because you're not taking the full brunt of what this spirit is basically telling you. Now, that being said, that does not mean that you are weak to being possessed or having a spirit torment you or anything like that. It's just a good rule of thumb because it makes you, it puts you in a position where you can concentrate on what is being said on the Ouija board instead of, oh man, my back really hurts. Oh, gotta stretch it, gotta stretch it. No, you're not thinking that because you have somebody else that's helping you out and taking some of the energy as well, so you don't feel it as much. So you can concentrate and focus on what is being said and what the spirit is trying to tell you. Don't forget to have a recording device of some sort. You can use your webcam, you can use your phone, anything, just something to record what is being said. If you don't have somebody that can write down the letters that are being spelled out, have a recorder so you can just go A, W, and so forth and so forth, so you can hear what you're saying, and then you can go back, and then that way it's easier to know what they've said and how you worded everything, so then you can understand more or less what they are trying to say. If they're being a little bit cryptic, which can happen, trust me, it can happen. It's nothing wrong with that. Just some spirits are like that. Last but not least, respect the Ouija board, guys. Please just respect the freaking board. Now, when I mean respect, I don't mean fear it, because that is not the thing that I want you to feel or do or, you know, move in that direction. It's more of like respect it like you would any other magical tool that you have. Take care of it, you know. Don't treat it like if it's a joke or a plaything or toy or anything like that. You know, respect it like you would any other magical device that is meant for spirit communication, okay? Don't give it that, oh, let's go have fun and talk to some spirits, whee! You know, be serious about it, because you will get what you ask for if you go that really, really, really ignorant route. Now, I know that I said that I was gonna do or tell you stories about me with the Ouija board. None of them are negative. They were actually very wonderful and beautiful for the most part. The one that I remember the most actually made me cry, but it was something that I really needed to hear from actually my grandmother, of all people, not my dad, but it was from my grandmother from my mom's side of the family. And I was actually with a group of friends. We were all witches, we're all like magic users and whatnot. And we cast a circle. We did everything that I just, basically all the tips that I just gave you guys. We did all of that. And it was me and another girl, and then everybody else was basically taking notes. And I knew that I wanted to contact my grandmother at the time. And I didn't know if I was going to contact her. Like, I didn't know that if she was going to show up or not, because we all wanted like our own relatives to talk to them. So we didn't know who we were going to talk to. I know one of my friends who was there, he wanted to talk to his dad, but his dad had recently died. And the way that we understood it is that his dad was still in the process of figuring out what was going on. So he really couldn't talk. So when it came to me and my friend, when we tried it, we got the word sorry. So S-O-R-R-Y. And I was like, who is this? And it spelled out my name. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, you're not me because I'm me. So are you related to me? And it said yes. And I was like, are you my grandmother? And it went straight to yes. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, Maria, you just moved it. But I didn't. I know I didn't. The planchette literally was being pulled more from her than me, and she didn't know my story. She didn't know that I wanted to contact my grandmother. I think she wanted to contact like an aunt of hers or something. I was like, are you saying sorry because of what happened? And I'm not gonna tell you what happened, but she said, yes, I want to say that I'm sorry. And then she goes, mother. And I'm like, are you talking about my mom? And it goes straight to yes. So my mom's side of the family has like some history. And I started bawling because for years I've known that something happened to my grandmother. I just didn't know what at the time. And I started bawling, but I didn't know. So I went, I think it was like the next day I went to my mom, And I was like, could you please tell me what happened to grandma? You know, like what happened to her? I never met her. I never met my mother's mom. And I was like, what happened to her? Like, what really happened to her? Because my mom would always talk about her, like if she was like super sad. And I mean, obviously because she's not here, but she would always talk about her in a very super sad, like tragic sort of life. And I was like, well, I know she had a rough life, but what was it? You know, like what happened? And my mom let me know that, because I knew that my mom was like upset about it, or upset about my grandmother for years, but I never knew what it was. I knew that something had happened. So that's why when I was on the Ouija board, I was like, you know, is it because of what happened? Not knowing what happened, just going like, well, something happened. And then when I communicated that with my mother, she started bawling, and I told her, you know, what happened with the Ouija board, and she was like, are you sure it was your grandmother? And I was like, I'm positive. I'm very positive that it was my grandmother. And I didn't want to communicate with my dad because at the time, because I normally communicate with him through dreams. He always comes to my dreams, several dreams actually. So I didn't have that need for talking to my dad, but my grandmother I did, because I always wanted to know what was the family secret. But here's the thing, it may have been sad. It may have been tragic. I cried like a baby. My mom cried like a baby. But here's the best thing about what happened. It gave my mother some closure. And it really put my mom at rest, that she knew that her mother was still there and still protected her and still loved her. To a certain degree, my mom got better. She was easier to talk to about certain things. She wasn't as intense or secretive. She was a lot more open about things, because she felt that she didn't have to hide those emotions anymore. So it really helped my mom out. And that was through a Ouija board session. So try to understand, guys, that just because Ouija boards have like this bad or negative, I guess you could say, stereotype, it's not bad at all. It's only bad if you make it bad. It's only bad if you want to have a negative experience or a scary experience. Then guess what? You're gonna have a negative and scary experience. But if you come into a session wanting to talk to a particular spirit and have a positive and loving connection with that spirit, that's what you're gonna get, okay? But you have to come in to the situation with an open mind, with focus, intention on what you want, with no fear, but respect for the device that you are using. And things actually will get interesting, but positively. So this is the end of the video, but before you leave, let's find out a couple things. What are your experiences with the Ouija board? What happened? Was it negative? Was it positive? And if you've never tried it but are interested, what is keeping you from trying it out? What are your fears? Other than that, guys, remember, go to this link if you guys want a reading, or follow me on social media, or want to be on my Patreon as a patron to support this channel. Please go there. Other than that, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my videos, and hit that notification button, because it'll let you know when I'm coming out with some cool videos. Other than that, much love and blessings.